want you to think about the first celebrity that changed your life. If you happen to be one of those people who seems to think that celebrities have no influence over your lives, then think about someone else who changed your life in a major way. For me, when I was 12 years old, that individual was Tupac Amaru Shakur, a famous rapper who had been dead half my life by that point, which my best friend pointed out to me, but you could not tell me anything wrong about this man. I asked my mom to buy me every CD, the explicit versions, by the way, every book, every movie, I consumed it. It got to the point that my friends and my family were sick of hearing me talk about this man. I could not sing another song, I could not recommend another movie, so I had to find my people. By that time, I was what I call chronically online. At the age of 9, I got my very first computer, and my brothers had their own. So I explored the internet and I found an online forum of people just like me, fellow Tupac fans. We got to pore over his lyrics, discuss different theories, one of which was that Tupac wasn't dead. We believed at that time, even though he was killed in 1996, that he was coming back shortly. As the year 2003 was approaching, more and more people were gaining interest in this theory. We thought, okay, well, he's giving us signals this way. He changed his name to Machiavelli. Machiavelli faked his death, Tupac faked his death. You could not convince me otherwise. And the fellow people in that online forum thought the same thing. So as people were joining the online community, they were also asking for moderators. Remember, I'm 12 at this time. I raised my hand. I'll be a moderator. I could spell it, I didn't know what it was. However, moderation became what I do today. I am a community manager at the artist formerly known as Facebook. I get to talk to strangers online and get paid for it. The nice thing about what I do is that I get to see people connect with other people who like the same things that they like, who have the same interests, who are thinking the same way. Now, there is a gift and a curse when it comes to online communities of this nature. Confirmation bias is the one that comes to mind. At the time, using my Tupac theory, I was thinking anybody who thought that this man was no longer with us was not my people. I only wanted to talk to people who felt the same way. When we are online now, we are often seeking that same kind of feeling. The unfortunate part of that is that it breeds something very, very dark when it gets around the wrong people. That's called misinformation. Now, I want you all to think back to 2020. If you thought that 2020 was gonna be your year in January, March came and decided that that was not the case. We were all home, we were all pretty lonely, we were missing friends and family, maybe even coworkers, and we all sought out online community because that's how we got the opportunity to connect with each other. We didn't know really what was going on, and actually misinformation spilled out from online and onto our traditional media as well. The tricky thing with misinformation is that oftentimes it's not something that a troll put out there. Sometimes it's accidental. There was so much misinformation from 2020 through 2022, and obviously it still breeds today. But I used that time to remind you of maybe some of the things that you may have heard about the coronavirus, maybe some of the things that you heard about the job market, maybe some of the things that you heard about politics, and you may have fallen into confirmation bias as well. A lot of us like to say that we are open-minded, and when we think about it, maybe not so much. There are some times where something that someone says is so inflammatory that you just absolutely close it off. And there's other times, depending on how somebody says it, you start to wonder. The tricky thing as well is that a lot of us don't have digital literacy. When I was growing up, I'm a millennial, a lot of us were taught to use primary sources whenever we were writing papers. I grew up with encyclopedias, the physical copies in my home, as well as the digital copies that came with AOL. And finally, it got to the point where my stepdad used to tell me, don't come and ask me a question unless you've looked it up first. So that is how I came to be as studious and researchy as I am today. However, a lot of people actually rely too much on the internet. The internet is what I like to call the gift and the curse, in a very real place and a very unreal place at the same time. We have access to connect with everyone at the click of a button. Going back to when I was first online, I used a computer. Now, I'm the geeky kid who also created a PowerPoint presentation to convince my parents that I wanted a Sidekick phone. Sidekicks were our first introduction to being chronically online, even at school. Should we have used it at school? Probably not. But I did convince my parents that it was a way for me to keep in touch with them as well, which I did use for that nature. Now, everyone has a phone. 6-year-olds have phones. 96-year-olds have phones. So with that access to the internet now, we have access to so many different voices. And it's becoming harder and harder to determine who is a primary source and who is not. With digital literacy, we have to consider the source. When I was taught how to cite things online, I was definitely discouraged to use Wikipedia. It blew my mind because I figured Wikipedia is an encyclopedia of the people. But my 4th grade teacher, Ms. Calais, who I love to this very day, taught us that anyone can edit a Wikipedia page. So that always gave me a cause for concern and made me pause before I ever said that something was true or not. So we were encouraged to use things that come from .gov or .edu, things that were peer-reviewed, especially in school. However, being chronically online, everyone has a platform. Again, a gift and a curse. So if I decided today that I too wanted to become a rapper, all of you guys would have access to my music. I rest assured that that is not my ministry. However, anyone who wants to say something, all they have to do, and it has been proven, is be loud about it. How many of you have seen videos that come from people that you've never met before, but maybe they look the part? Maybe they dress professional, they speak with authority, they use big letters in their captions, and they use big words. And you think, that's an authority figure. I trust this person. How many of you have also viewed a video and maybe even shared it and told people, I saw this on TikTok, it must be real? However, while most of you probably understand that, especially those of you who did use traditional encyclopedias, understand primary sources, there is a group of individuals who did not have access to these resources growing up, and now whatever they see goes viral is truth to them. It is up to all of us to stop misinformation. I'm not saying it's easy. I am saying it's hard. But I want you to consider the fact that it is our responsibility in order to keep everyone safe. As consumers, think twice before you hit that share button. When you're in the comments, don't feed the trolls. They thrive on that information. They thrive on going back and forth with people. If you are creating content, check your sources, even if it's as simple as a Facebook post. If you are in charge of a platform as big as the one that I work on, and you work in that company, challenge and read those policies. The policies are changing fast and furiously because those who are ill intent are also doing some very shady stuff very quickly. So it is up to us to speak up. It's up to us to be very stingy when it comes to the information that we're sharing with people. And it's up to us to remind ourselves what it is that we want to accomplish on a daily basis. If we want to share information, we want to share the right information. We want to take care of each other. I believe that since 2001, when 9/11 happened, everyone was so connected. Everyone felt like this was the place to be. But if you also think back to that time, we did not have as much access to the internet as we do today. So when we think about the things that we're experiencing, especially in this country, but especially in our personal lives, we want to make sure that we are arming ourselves with information that is factual and not just letting our emotions take us all the way over to no man's land.